The glass bottle of hair tonic shattered on the floor. Helen Carter stood frozen in the doorway of her beauty salon, watching Sergeant Vincent Kane sweep an entire shelf of products onto the ground. Shampoos, conditioners, oils she'd saved 6 months to buy. "This establishment is operating without proper health permits," Kane announced, loud enough for the entire block to hear. 3 women sat under hairdryers, heads half done. 2 more waited in chairs, all of them watching Helen's dream get destroyed. "I have all my permits," Helen said, her voice shaking. "They're right there on the wall." "These permits are expired." Kane ripped them off the wall. They weren't expired. Helen had renewed them 2 weeks ago. "That's not true. I can show you the dates. Don't talk back to me." Kane stepped closer, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, sneering. "You know how this works in Harlem. You want to operate, you pay protection, $50 a week. I already pay taxes, $50 or I shut you down, your choice." Helen looked at her clients, at the products on the floor, at 15 years of work about to disappear. "I can't afford that." "Then you can't afford to stay open." Kane pulled out a padlock, walked to the door. "You have 10 minutes to get everyone out, then I'm locking this place down." Across the street, sitting at a corner cafe with a cup of coffee he hadn't touched, Bumpy Johnson watched the entire thing. He'd been watching Helen Carter for 6 months. Not following her, not stalking her, just noticing her. The way she smiled at customers, the way she stayed late helping elderly women who couldn't afford full price. The way she'd rebuilt this salon from nothing after her husband died 3 years ago. Bumpy had never spoken to her, never introduced himself, because men like him didn't get happy endings with women like her. She was light. He was darkness. She built things. He protected things, sometimes by destroying other things. But he'd been working up the courage to walk across that street, to introduce himself properly, to see if maybe, just maybe, there was room in his life for something besides war. Now he watched Sergeant Vincent Kane humiliate her in front of half the block. Watched her clients leave, embarrassed and apologetic. Watched Helen lock her own door with tears streaming down her face. Bumpy didn't move, didn't react, just sat there, coffee getting cold, watching. But something in his chest went very quiet, very still, very dangerous. He pulled out a pocket watch, checked the time. 2:47 p.m., Wednesday afternoon. Sergeant Kane had 72 hours left. Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. Bumpy walked into Junie Bird's apartment on 145th Street. "Boss, wasn't expecting you. I need information on a cop. Sergeant Vincent Kane, 28th Precinct." Junie pulled out a notebook, started writing. "What kind of information?" "Everything, where he lives, where he drinks, who he takes money from, who protects him, how dirty he is, and I need it by tonight." "What did he do?" "Closed down Helen Carter's beauty salon, demanded $50 a week protection money." Junie looked up. "Helen Carter on 132nd Street? "Yeah. The one you've been watching for 6 months?" Bumpy said nothing. Junie smiled. "I'll have everything by 8 o'clock. 8:00 p.m. Junie laid out the file. Vincent Kane, 38 years old, been a cop for 12 years, sergeant for the last 4, lives in a rental house on Convent Avenue, single, no kids, drinks at McGinty's pub on Amsterdam every Friday. How dirty? Very. He's got a protection racket running through 20 businesses in Harlem. Collects between $30 and $100 a week from each. That's at minimum $2,400 a month, tax-free. Who knows about it? Everyone. But he's protected. His captain takes a cut. So do 3 other sergeants. They cover for each other. Weakness? He's greedy. He's stupid. And he thinks his badge makes him untouchable." Bumpy looked at the file, at Kane's address, at his schedule. 72 hours, Bumpy said quietly. In 3 days, Vincent Kane won't have a badge, won't have protection, won't have anything. "What's the plan?" "Thursday, we gather evidence. Friday we plant seeds, Saturday we burn everything down. Hour 12, Thursday morning. Marcus, Sandman. Baptiste stood outside a grocery store on 128th Street. The owner, Mr. Chen, was opening up. "Mr. Chen, can I ask you something?" "Sure, Sandman. What you need?" "You pay protection money to Sergeant Kane?" Mr. Chen's face went tight. "I don't know what you're talking about." "It's okay. I'm not a cop. I work for someone who's helping people like you. How much does Kane take?" Mr. Chen looked around, made sure no one was listening. $75 every Monday. And if you don't pay, he closes me down, says I got health violations, says my permit's expired, says whatever he needs to say. Would you testify to that, if Kane wasn't a cop anymore? If he wasn't a cop, yeah, I'd testify. He's been robbing me for 2 years. Sandman smiled. Thank you, Mr. Chen. Someone will be in touch. By Thursday evening, Bumpy had statements from 14 businesses, all paying Kane protection money, all willing to testify if Kane lost his badge. Hour 24, Thursday night. Bumpy sat in his office above Small's Paradise. Spread out on his desk were photographs. Kane accepting an envelope from a restaurant owner on Lenox Avenue. Kane pocketing cash from a bar owner on 125th Street. Kane threatening a shopkeeper on 142nd. A photographer named Jerome had spent all day following Kane, documenting everything. These are good, Bumpy said. Real good. What are you going to do with them? Jerome asked. Send them to someone who'll appreciate them. Hour 36, Friday morning. Captain Thomas McKinley of the 28th Precinct opened his morning mail. Inside an unmarked envelope was a folder containing 14 signed statements from business owners, photographs of Kane accepting bribes, a detailed breakdown of Kane's protection racket, a note typed on plain paper. Captain McKinley, Sergeant Kane has been running an illegal protection racket in your precinct for 4 years. The evidence is enclosed. If you do nothing, these documents go to Internal Affairs, the District Attorney, and the New York Times. You have 48 hours to clean your house. A concerned citizen. McKinley sat at his desk for 30 minutes, staring at the folder. He could ignore it, could protect Kane like he'd been doing. But if this went public, it wouldn't just destroy Kane, it would destroy McKinley. The whole precinct, everyone taking cuts. He picked up his phone, called Internal Affairs. Hour 48, Friday afternoon. Kane was called into McKinley's office at 3:00 p.m. Sit down, Kane. What's this about, Cap? McKinley slid the folder across the desk. This. Kane opened it. His face went pale. Where did you get this? Anonymous tip. Internal Affairs is opening an investigation. You're suspended effective immediately. Badge and gun. Cap, come on. We'll take protection money. You know that. Don't. McKinley's voice was ice. Don't say anything else. You're already buried. If you drag me into this, I'll make sure you go to prison. Give me your badge. Kane's hand shook as he unpinned his badge, set it on the desk. Gun. Kane handed over his service weapon. You've got 72 hours before Internal Affairs brings you in for questioning. I suggest you use that time to get a lawyer. Now get out. Kane walked out of the precinct in shock. 12 years as a cop, gone in one conversation he didn't understand. How did someone get all that evidence? Who would dare go after him? Hour 60, Friday evening. Kane went to McGinty's pub, needed a drink, needed to think. He walked in. The bartender, Sean, looked at him, then looked away. Sean, whiskey, double. Sean didn't move. You deaf? I said whiskey. Can't serve you, Kane. What? You heard me. You're not welcome here anymore. Kane looked around the bar. 5 cops sitting at tables. Men he'd worked with for years, all of them avoiding his eyes. What the hell is going on? One of the cops, Officer Donnelly, finally spoke. Word is you're under investigation. Internal affairs. Taking bribes. We can't be seen with you. We all take bribes. You know that. Yeah, but we didn't get caught. Donnelly stood up. You brought heat on yourself, Kane. That heat spreads to us, so you're out. Don't come back here. Kane left the bar, stood on the street, trying to understand how his life had collapsed in 12 hours. Hour 72. Saturday morning. Kane spent Friday night at a hotel. Couldn't think, couldn't sleep. Everything was falling apart. Saturday morning, 9:00 a.m. He went home. Small house on Convent Avenue. Needed to grab clothes. Needed to figure out his next move. He unlocked the door, pushed it open, and stopped. The house was destroyed, furniture overturned, couch slashed open, stuffing everywhere. Coffee tables smashed, television shattered, kitchen chairs broken, every dish pulled from cabinets and thrown on the floor, picture frames torn off walls, clothes ripped from closets and shredded, 12 years of possessions. Destroyed. Kane stumbled through the wreckage, hyperventilating. Who did this? Who did this? He made it to the kitchen, stood in the doorway. The kitchen was destroyed like everything else, except for one thing. In the center of the kitchen table, under an upside-down glass of water, sat a playing card. The Ace of Spades. Completely untouched. Not a scratch. Placed deliberately. Kane walked slowly to the table, picked up the glass, picked up the card. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. The Ace of Spades. Bumpy Johnson's calling card. Everyone in Harlem knew it. The card he left when he wanted you to know exactly who'd destroyed your life. Kane's legs gave out. He collapsed into a chair that wasn't broken, stared at the card. Bumpy Johnson did this. But why? Kane had never crossed Bumpy, never even met him. Then Kane remembered. Wednesday afternoon, the beauty salon. Helen Carter. Oh God, Helen Carter. Kane didn't know she was connected to Bumpy. Didn't know Bumpy even knew who she was. But he'd shut down her salon. He'd humiliated her. He'd made her cry. And Bumpy Johnson had been watching. Kane tried to stand. His knees were shaking. He stumbled out of the destroyed house into the street. He had no badge, no job, no protection, no home. And Bumpy Johnson wanted him to know it was personal. Kane ran, didn't know where he was going, just ran. Hour 84. Saturday afternoon. Kane tried to go back to the 28th precinct. Thought maybe he could explain. Maybe McKinley would understand. The desk sergeant stopped him at the door. You can't be here, Kane. I need to see Captain McKinley. Captain says he doesn't want to see you. Ever. You're not a cop anymore. Leave. Kane tried to go to his lawyer's office. The lawyer wouldn't see him. I've been advised not to take your case. Find someone else. Kane tried to go to his brother's apartment in Queens. His brother wouldn't open the door. Mom says you're in trouble. She says stay away from the family until this blows over. By Saturday evening, Kane understood. He was alone, completely alone. Sunday morning, Kane left New York, took a bus to Philadelphia, didn't tell anyone, just disappeared. He'd live there for the next 20 years. Warehouse work, manual labor, drinking alone in bars where nobody knew his name. He never came back to Harlem, never wore a badge again, never forgot the Ace of Spades sitting on that kitchen table. Monday morning, 8:00 a.m. Helen Carter stood outside her beauty salon, key in hand. She'd spent the weekend crying, trying to figure out how to reopen. The $50 Kane wanted was money she didn't have, and even if she paid, he'd just keep demanding more. She unlocked the door, walked inside, and stopped. The salon was spotless, cleaner than she'd left it. All the broken bottles cleaned up, new products on the shelves, expensive products, the kind she couldn't afford. On the counter sat an envelope. Helen opened it with shaking hands. Inside was $500 in cash and a note written in neat handwriting. Your permits are in order. Your salon is legal. Sergeant Kane will not bother you again. He won't bother anyone again. Harlem protects its own. A friend. Helen read the note 3 times, looked at the money, at the new products, at the repaired salon. Someone had done this. Someone had taken care of Kane. Someone had protected her. She thought about the man she'd seen at the cafe across the street, the one who'd been there Wednesday afternoon when Kane shut her down, the one she'd noticed watching her salon sometimes over the past few months. She'd never spoken to him, but she knew his name. Everyone in Harlem knew his name. Bumpy Johnson. Helen folded the note carefully, put it in her pocket next to the $500. She didn't know how to thank someone for something like this. Didn't know if she should even try. But she knew one thing. Next time she saw him, she wouldn't look away. Tuesday afternoon. Helen was working when the door opened. Bumpy Johnson walked in. He looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure he should be there, like he was about to turn around and leave. "Mr. Johnson," Helen said. Bumpy stopped. "You know who I am. Everyone knows who you are. I saw your salon was open again. Wanted to make sure everything was okay." Helen looked at him for a long moment. At the man who'd destroyed a corrupt cop's life without her even knowing, who'd protected her from the shadows, who looked at her now like she was something precious and fragile. "Everything's okay," she said. "Thanks to a friend." Bumpy nodded. "That's good. That's real good." He turned to leave. "Mr. Johnson." He stopped. "Would you like to sit down? I could make coffee, if you have time." Bumpy looked at her, at the smile on her face, at the invitation in her eyes. "I have time." He sat down. She made coffee. And for the first time in 6 months, Bumpy Johnson didn't watch Helen Carter from across the street. He sat next to her, and she didn't look away. Sergeant Vincent Kane disappeared into Philadelphia, worked warehouse jobs until his death in 1962, alone, forgotten, destroyed not by violence but by precision. Helen Carter and Bumpy Johnson started talking that Tuesday. Those conversations became dinners. Those dinners became a relationship. In 1948 they got married, stayed together until Bumpy died 20 years later. Helen never asked exactly what Bumpy did to Kane, and Bumpy never told her. Some things were better left in shadows, but she kept the Ace of Spades. Found it years later in Bumpy's desk drawer. Never asked why he had it. Just knew. The man she loved protected the things he cared about. Quietly, completely, without needing recognition. And 72 hours was all it took to prove that some wars are won without a single punch. Because in Harlem, Bumpy Johnson didn't make threats. He made moves. And by the time you realized what was happening, everything you had was already gone. If this story showed you that real power is silent and calculated, subscribe for more untold stories of how Bumpy Johnson protected the people he loved. Drop a like if you understand that the most dangerous men never raise their voice. Share this with someone who knows that 72 hours can change everything. What would you have done in Bumpy's position? Let me know in the comments.